And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today I'm taking a look at Railways Express. Now, Railways Express is based on the game Railways of the World, which is based on Age of Steam from Martin Wallace, which is based on other train games. But anyway, Railways of the World was a train game that came in a box that was a little bigger than this, in which you built trains all over northeast or just the eastern seaboard of the USA and connected routes and transported cubes. A really cool game. This one here is somewhat different in the fact that it is using dice, okay? Actually, it's really different. In fact, the only thing that's really the same is the fact that there's trains and it looks the same. Let me show you how it looks the same. So here is the board for Railways Express. It actually looks very similar to one of the other games, the Railways games, but it's different. There's different cities around the board in different colors, but those colors match with a player. For example, here you can see a red, yellow, blue, and purple city, and each of those cities is one of those players. So if I'm the yellow player, Winnipeg is my city. If I'm the red player, Minneapolis is my city. And so each player has 4 cities on the board, and you can see the different spots that they have them. Each player is going to pick one of their cities. That's going to be their starting city, and they'll put a locomotive in that city. The rest of their cities, they'll put 2 cubes of their color. Then there's a bunch of neutral cities on the board. Those cities will each get 1 cube of every color placed in them. On a player's turn, they're going to roll these 4 dice, and they're going to match those dice into pairs. So the pairs, 2 of the dice are going to show tracks. The tracks are either going to be straight and curved, 2 curves, or 2 straights. The terrain is either going to show mountain terrain, or it's going to show plains terrain, or it's going to show river terrain, or it's going to show this one that's wild. So if I did this, I could say, okay, I'll take 2 curves in a wild and 2 straights on the river, or I can do it like this. Now, players, if they have cubes on their turn, can use a cube, spend a cube, to re-roll 1 or 2 dice, and you can spend as many cubes as you want. Now, the different terrains are pretty simple to find on the board. If it has a dot in the middle of it, it's mountain terrain. If it has any blue at all, in the tile at all, it's river terrain. Otherwise, it's plains terrain. Now, your terrain needs to start from your starting city, and after that, you can kind of make it do whatever you want. You're not allowed to connect with somebody else's city. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to connect to neutral cities and eventually connect to your own cities. As soon as you connect to a neutral city, like I just did there to Las Vegas, then I will take a cube from Las Vegas. I have an extra cube. But my goal is eventually to connect my railroad all the way down here to Monterey, and then all the way up here to Toronto, up there in the corner, and also to connect it to Regina up there. Now, when I connect these cities, when I connect to a neutral city, for example, I connect it down here to Las Vegas, I'm allowed 2 connections per neutral city. So when I leave Las Vegas, I can't start another line coming out of Las Vegas. Somebody else can come into there. So yellow could come around like this, and then yellow could leave Las Vegas. And in fact, you are allowed to, let's say yellow comes like this, and they continue to do some curves. Well, let's see if I can find some curves here real quick. Sure, I brought all straight pieces. But what you can do is curve around and come underneath somebody else. So you can see here, if let's say there was a straight piece here already, well, there's nothing wrong with you making a curve that comes underneath that. You just place this track like this. See how that works? So you're allowed to do things like that to cut underneath other people's. But what you're trying to do is, attach to your own things. The first person to connect all 4 of their cities across the board is the winner. Now that's the base game. You can also add service bounties to the game. Each service bounty will show a city. For example, this one here says the first player to link their track to Las Vegas after this card is revealed gets an extra reroll cube of their color. So if this card had been out when blue attached to Las Vegas, then they would have taken that card. And once that card is taken, we replace it with another service bounty. So those are ways to get extra cubes. Then there are other cards, railroad operations, and each time you connect to one of the neutral cities, you can take one of these cards. These cards do all sorts of things, but they're mostly all the same kind of thing. Like this one here lets me build an extra track segment in a plains area. This one here, I can play an opponent when they're about to lay a track on water. They can't do that this turn. Here I can use this before I roll dice. I don't need to roll one of my terrain dice. I can just do it any way I want. Here I can stop someone from building on a plains. Here I can re-roll a die of my choice this turn. So they're basically about re-rolling the dice or stopping your opponent. Anyhow, the gameplay, even if you use both sets of these cards or just one set of those cards, plays pretty much exactly the same. First person to connect all four of their cities is the winner. Sorry folks, I did not like this one bit, and I'll tell you why. Because when it came down to it, whatever the cards, whatever the cubes, whatever the dice, you're simply connecting routes across America. Now, when you're connecting these routes all across America, you are connecting one to another. There's just not much tension. It's all about whatever you roll on the dice. I roll this, ba-ba-bum. I roll this, ba-ba-bum. I roll that, didn't get what I want. Roll again, roll again. Can't build more than a couple, so your turn, roll the dice. It's really boring. There's no strategy. You're just connecting routes. Now, there's another train connecting game routes called Trans-America, which is like this, except it takes 20 minutes. If you hurried, and if you were crazy maniac rolling dice, you can get this game done in an hour. Maybe. Maybe. But other than that, it's going to take a very long time. And it's too long for me. It's beautiful. The components look great. You're putting trains to show the routes that you've connected, but it doesn't matter because all you are doing in this game is going from point A to point B to point C to point D. That's so boring. It really is. There's no tension. You can see someone's ahead. You roll the dice. There's like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 different possible rolls. There's not very many even combos. You spend cubes to re-roll the dice, and that's it. This game is a big, grandiose game, which is just a very simple game in a box. So, I like a lot of Eagle games. I think they're very grandiose and big, and I think they're a lot of fun. This one just didn't do it for me at all. It's just very numbing in a lot of respects because I don't mind this. If you're going to do a quick connection game, then the game needs to be quick, fast, not even this big. Anyhow, Express Railways or Railways Express, not for me.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
There.